you got to get scared that people who are not criminals are getting like lassoed up and deported and sent to like El Salvador prisons.
With a bunch of these Tren de Aragua guys, allegedly they got one guy who, at least one guy who wasn't a criminal, who was just a gay barber who I think, according to the story, came here legally. He was here legally. That's what they said.
Joe Rogan and Constantine Kissen weighed in on the wrongful deportation of
Trump promised deportations would target the bad hombres, but his administration just sent an innocent gay makeup artist to a maximum security prison in El Salvador based on fake gang tattoo evidence. Now, even Joe Rogan, yes, that Joe Rogan, is calling it horrific. Let's expose what's really happening with these deportations.
A Venezuelan migrant who was sent to a maximum security prison in El Salvador, with ICE claiming that he was a member of Tren de Aragua. However, it appears that is not the case.
Hold up, this isn't just some immigration mix-up. This is a system designed for abuse. Trump's deportation machine doesn't care if you're innocent. They're grabbing legal asylum seekers and sending them to hellhole prisons without any evidence. And why El Salvador? Because they're paying other countries to do their dirty work. This is the pattern. Deport first, ask questions never.
In fact, he wasn't even in the United States illegally. He was here legally. He had a legitimate asylum claim. He came in through a port of entry and made that asylum claim. And his name's André Hernandez. He's a gay makeup artist who's been an outspoken critic of Venezuela. And I just feel like it's pretty obvious he's not a Tren de Aragua gang member.
Yeah, they don't even allow gay people into the gang. So among 1,000 reasons why he's not a gang member. So this is what happens when you don't do due process.
Exactly.
Because the courts are supposed to check. Oh, is he a gang member or isn't he? Oh, is he undocumented or isn't he? Did he come here legally or not? Because if you don't check, you get people who did come here legally and that aren't in a gang. And that's why like, if he did this without doing it in a dumb way, and he just rounded up the actual gang and made sure, then shipped him off, some people would still be mad that he's sending him to a hellhole in El Salvador. But overall, the American people would be massively on his side.
Yeah, and look, I want to be 100% clear. Everyone, including individuals who are suspected of being gang members, and there's actual evidence, showing that they're part. Doesn't matter. You need to go through the proper channels. There needs to be due process. There's a reason why due process exists. And if you think it's okay to just throw it away when it comes to individuals who the federal government is simply accusing unilaterally of doing something criminal, well, I mean, you're really allowing so much power to be concentrated in the federal government to the point where they can accuse anyone of anything. And you don't get your day in court. That's crazy. That is absolutely insane. And I'm really happy that people are waking up to how insane that really is. Now, in this case, we're talking about a Venezuelan migrant who made a, legitimate asylum claim through the proper channels. He was in the country legally. He's sent to El Salvador, meaning a third country, to a detention facility for hardened criminals and terrorists. That's CCOT. That's insane. Now, he had sought asylum in the United States through a port of entry, but the Trump administration argues that he's part of Tren de Aragua because he has gang tattoos. Oh, interesting. So, they make the claim. I want to see the gang tattoos. Maybe they have a legitimate argument here. Here's what the tattoos look like. Here are the tattoos that ICE declared were evidence that this guy, gay makeup artist who came to a port of entry seeking asylum from Venezuela, was a member of a vicious gang.
Are you kidding me? Mom and dad tattoos with crowns are now gang tattoos? This is beyond incompetence. It's intentional. They know these aren't gang tattoos. They're fabricating evidence to meet deportation quotas. And notice how his lawyers can't even reach him? They've created a black hole where legal representation disappears. This is exactly how authoritarian systems operate. No evidence, no lawyers, no way out.
I'm not making this up. This is it. Mom and dad with crowns over them. Those are not gang tattoos. But apparently it didn't matter because despite the fact that it's obvious those aren't gang tattoos, his lawyers have not been able to reach him since March 15th. And after interviewing him, he says he he is not a member of the gang. Somehow an ICE officer concludes that despite all that, his 2 crown tattoos and mom and dad written under them are consistent with those of a Tren de Aragua member.
No, they're not.
No, they're not. They're just lying. So with that context in mind, and knowing that this is what Rogan and Kissen are talking about, let's hear more of what they had to say.
I think a human being being plucked out of nowhere and ending up in a country he's never been in a maximum security prison with gang members, seems like a bad thing to happen to me.
It's horrific. It's horrific.
I don't think that should be controversial.
No, that's not controversial at all. And this is the thing, measured twice, cut once. This is this is kind of crazy that could be possible. That's horrific, and that's bad for the cause. Like, the cause is, let's get the gang members out. Everybody agrees, but let's not innocent gay hairdressers get lumped up with the gangs, and then how long before that guy can get out? Can we figure out how to get him out? Is there any plan in place to alert the authorities that they've made a horrible mistake and correct it?
Well, if you think about it from a government perspective, and this is where I think it gets quite sinister, is once you've done that, the incentive structure is never going to be to admit that and deal with it. The incentive structure is to say nothing, to cover it up, to pretend it didn't happen.
But
right?
that is horrible.
So someone ends up in a black hole. But we've seen it. We've seen it in every country, including in America.
But that's the thing about politics, right? Never admit your fault. Never admit you're wrong.
It's so dumb.
And this is the thing we're seeing with the signal thing, and this is the thing we're seeing with this.
And there seems to be more frustration with the lack of accountability or the willingness to take responsibility for mistakes made. So far, we haven't heard anything from the Trump administration in regard to this specific individual who was sent away. But you should know that we have so far spent about $40 million to send migrants to El Salvador's CICOT. And that's according to the State Department. They apparently did an analysis and provided that analysis.
Follow the money. $40 million of your tax dollars to jail migrants at Guantanamo Bay, another $6 million to ship people to El Salvador. This isn't about immigration. It's about enriching private prison contractors and paying off foreign governments. The same people screaming about government spending are burning millions on a deportation theater show, and now they're quietly stopping because it costs too much. The hypocrisy is staggering.
To senators. There was a delegation of 5 senators who even visited, I'm sorry, that's for Gitmo. So we've spent $40 million to jail 400 migrants at Guantanamo Bay. So it's not just El Salvador, we're also sending them to Guantanamo Bay, but that has become so expensive that the Trump administration quietly stopped doing that. And they actually sent about half of those 400 migrants back to the United States because of how costly it was. But I should also note that we've been paying El Salvador as well. The last time it was reported, we spent about $6 million to send migrants there. And now a federal judge has stepped in to do an emergency order to temporarily block what the Trump administration is doing. So this federal judge has issued the ruling saying that, listen, you can't do this without due process. Okay, so we're gonna do a temporary block. This is federal judge, US District Judge Brian Murphy. He's based in Boston, and he stated that the Trump administration must give those they want to deport a meaningful opportunity to seek humanitarian protection in the US. And Murphy wrote that officials may not deport someone to a so-called third country unless and until they provide the deportee and their lawyer written notice of the country to which they are being sent. Then the judge said officials must let them apply in immigration court for protection to stay in the US under the Convention Against Torture, which Congress ratified back in 1994. And then after that, the judge said the agency must await a final decision from an immigration judge. That's when the due process comes in.
Yeah, so 2 really positive developments there, because what are we most worried about in the Trump years? That they're gonna be lawless, right? So if Trump serves 4 years, creates a giant mess, but at the end of the day, we get back to America, there's elections and Democrats can win, Republicans can win, and et cetera, then it's all good, right? So like the 4 years will be terrible, but that's the consequence of elections, so we gotta work harder to win, et cetera, right? So one, the courts hold up today. That's what just happened, what Anna just read you, right? So they say, no, you can't go without due process. You got to check with us first. Let's hope that Trump administration listens to the courts. So great, courts are holding so far. Then number 2, I was led to believe that the entire brosphere, Joe Rogan, etc., were all Trump cultists and would never disagree with him and would never hold him accountable. Now it looks like they were holding him accountable, okay? And that's not just Rogan, that Constantine Kissen. So he's a guy who's on the right. I went on a show, we had a big debate, funny enough, about transgender girls in high school sports. I said they should be in high school sports, he said they shouldn't, and we had a big debate about that, but he's a free speech advocate. And I was like, well, let's see. When Trump gets into office, we'll see if you're a real free speech advocate. And look at that. Turns out, like here he is. This is not about free speech as much as more about don't send an innocent man to a jail in a foreign government, a foreign country where they're going to torture him.
It's about the fundamental right of due process.
Yes.
Even Joe Rogan gets it. The right to due process isn't just for citizens, it's fundamental to any functioning democracy. Without it, the government can accuse anyone of anything. Today it's immigrants, tomorrow it's political opponents, and next it's you. This isn't about immigration policy anymore. It's about whether we still have a system of laws or just rule by executive decree. The cracks in Trump's base are starting to show, and it's because the reality of these policies is too horrific to defend.
But human rights, human rights. So he stands up for him. Great job, Constantine, nice job, we appreciate it. Rogan stands up for it, calls it horrific, says it shouldn't even be controversial, it's clearly wrong. Now, it is controversial, there are MAGA guys who are totally like, oh, whatever, they're not citizens, who cares? We don't know, maybe he came in here illegally, oh, I trust Trump. Okay, that also exists, right? But here is independent media outlets and personalities going, no, not on our watch, this is wrong. Now, I said that online and some people responded, not good enough. He has to apologize to all non-Trump.
Okay, whatever, who cares about that? But like, look, let's get back to the actual political analysis here, because the one area where Trump is still doing well, the one area where he's not pulling underwater is immigration. But if more and more stories like this come out, if more and more of his supporters start speaking out against what his administration is doing with immigration, it will not bode well for Trump or the Republicans. And just to give you the latest numbers, according to the latest CBS YouGov poll on the topic of immigration, about 53% of Americans approve of what the Trump administration is doing and 47% disapprove. He's underwater in every other area, including the economy. And so that's something for him to keep in mind. You know, he thinks he's killing it with immigration, but if you make these massive mistakes and people, innocent people like this, makeup artist, this gay makeup artist who spoke out against Venezuela and had a legitimate claim, asylum claim, gets shipped off to a detention facility for hardened criminals, gang members, and terrorists, people are gonna start turning on you.
This case exposes the entire corrupt system. Trump claimed he'd only target criminals, but he's created a deportation machine that can't tell the difference between a gay makeup artist and a gang member. This isn't incompetence, it's by design. A system with no accountability, no due process, and no oversight means anyone can disappear. That's not border security, that's authoritarian rule masquerading as immigration policy.
On you.
Okay, last two things. Look, I would hope that even if you're on the right, that you would say, hey, it's one thing to send off guilty people to that hellhole in El Salvador. It's another thing to send off an innocent guy there.
Right.
Please tell me you think that. Okay, I think all decent people should agree to that. And I'm thrilled to see Rogan and Kissen agree on that as well. And then finally, to Anna's point, and what we're all saying here, which is, look guys, there's still significant issues about why not just send them back to their home country? Why pay a foreign government? Some of our members wrote in about that too. A foreign government to basically torture them there. So those are all legitimate questions. But if you're on the right, Anna's totally right. This is gonna make your position totally unpopular. In fact, I think Rogan said it too. So why are you being counterproductive? It doesn't make any sense. Now, on the left, they said there was no tren de Aragua. The rest of them are tren de Aragua. So I know that they weren't in Aurora, Colorado, according to some folks, okay? But they are. Now, most important thing, get him out of there right now. Look, guys, number one, he's innocent. He's not a gang member. He has no one to protect him, and he's gay. Get him out of there. What are we doing?
Yeah, and he didn't enter the country illegally. He entered the country through a legitimate port of entry. He had a legitimate asylum claim. He didn't come here for economic reasons. He's been speaking out against the government of Venezuela and is worried about being persecuted.
That's one of the worst places on earth, that prison. I can't imagine what they're doing to him. Every day that goes by, is a travesty. Get him out of there. And so we'll see if there's anyone in the Trump administration who will listen to anyone, or if they'll just go careening out of control as they have been from day one.
Trump sold America on targeting criminal gangs, but his deportation machine is sweeping up innocent people, including legal asylum seekers, and shipping them to hellhole prisons in foreign countries to be tortured. Even his own supporters like Joe Rogan are calling it horrific. If you're sick of seeing innocent people thrown into foreign prisons without due process, hit that subscribe button. The mainstream media won't connect these dots, but we will. Drop protect due process in the comments if you believe no administration should be able to throw people into foreign prisons without a trial. Stay sharp, stay critical, and let's keep exposing the system together. Peace out.